Hello, students, welcome back. Today, we are going to learn a new chapter from our literature reader. Chapter 5, The Homecoming. At the end of the class, you will be able to understand how important it is to treat children with love, compassion, understanding, to appreciate the value of home, to read and comprehend the story. The Homecoming, written by Rabindranath Tagore. This is a story about a mischievous boy, Fatik. Before looking into our story, let's see more about the author. As you all know that Rabindranath Tagore is the most distinguished man of letters. He was born in 1861 at Calcutta. He was a great Indian poet, dramatic, novelist, educationalist, and sage of Bengal, who was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his collection of poems Gitanjali. He wrote in Bengali and English. He died in 1941. Now let's see the story The Homecoming, written by Rabindranath Tagore. Fatik Chakravarti was the ringleader among the boys of the village. One day, he and his friends saw a heavy log lying along the river. He decided that they should all work together to shift the log from its place and roll it away. But just as the fun was about to begin, Makan, Patik's younger brother, walked up and sat down on the log without a word. The boys were puzzled for a moment. Fatik was furious. Makan, he cried, "If you don't get down this minute, I will thrash you." Makan only moved to a more comfortable position. Now, if Fatik was to keep his dignity before the boys, it was clear he ought to carry out his threat. But his courage failed him. Instead, he commanded the boys to roll the log and Makan over together. Makan heard the order, but he did not move. The boys began to push the log with all their strength, calling out, "One, two, three, go!" At the word go, the log went, and with it went Makan. Now we can listen to the story clearly. So, here, as we already mentioned, we are talking about a boy called Fatik Chakravarti, and he is the gang leader. And while one day when they were playing along the riverside, they decided that they should all work together to move a log of wood, and they planned to roll it down. But when they were just getting ready for that fun, his brother Makan come and sit over that log. Fatik, he is threatening that he will trash him, but in fact, he made himself more comfortable. Fatik knew he should carry out his threat to maintain his authority as a gang leader, but he did not have the courage to beat his little brother for no reason. Instead, he ordered his friends to move Makan together with the log. The boys were very happy when they rolled both the log and Makan out on the way. The other boys were delighted with their work, but Fatik was a little frightened. He knew what was coming, and sure enough, Makan arose screaming like the Furies. He rushed at Fatik and scratched his face and beat him and then went crying home. The first act of the drama was over. When Patik went back home, His mother said angrily, "So, have you been hitting Makan again?" Fatik was indignant. "No, I haven't. Who tell you that?" "Don't tell lies." "I'm not. You ask Makan." But Makan said, "Yes, mother, Fatik did hit me." Fatik could not bear the injustice. He rushed at Makan and hit him. His mother moved to protect Makan. So you can see here when along with the wood they rolled down Makan, all the boys were very happy. They were shouting themselves with delight, but Fatik he himself knew that that is not good. He really knew he was having a little frighten himself. He knew that something was coming. So after that, what happened? His brother Makan, he rise from there. He started to crying. He cry like the furies. You will be having a confusion what is a furies. So here I'm going to share a picture of a fury. This is a fury, and it's said to be in Greek and Roman mythology they are the spirit of revenge or justice. So he was crying like that. So we can see that by crying, he rushed towards Fatik and scratched his face and beat him and kicked him. And after that, he went home crying. So the first part of the drama was over. And we can see after that Fatik sitting near the river. He is began to think about how will his mother react. He was very frightened to go back to his home, so he was sitting there. After a few minutes, Fatik went back to home. When he reached there, his mother was very angry and she was asking, "So you have been hitting Makan again? You started to beat him again?" But Makan was very angry and surprised because he didn't do that. No, so he says, "Don't tell lies." So mother tell, "I didn't tell lies. You ask Makan." And by hearing that Makan have lied, our Fatik become very angry and he started to beat Makan. His mother tried to protect Makan, but he was not ready to stop fighting. And when his mother tried to pull him away, unfortunately, his mother feel that like he was beating his own mother. At that time, something happened. Let's listen what is happening in the next. At this moment, a grey haired stranger arrived at door. When Fatik's mother stepped back and looked at the stranger, her anger changed to surprise, for she recognized her brother and cried, "Why, Dada, where have you come from?" Her brother Bhishmar had gone away soon after she had married to start a business in Bombay. She had lost her husband while he was there. Bhishma had now come back to Calcutta and had at once set out to the village to meet his sister. So, my dear students, we can see that at that very moment, her elder brother Bhishma appeared at her door. Fatik's mother was surprised to see him. She was very in an angry mood. While she see her brother, her anger changed into surprise because while seeing him, because he had gone away from the village soon after her marriage. He had gone to Bombay to start a business and had not returned until now. In the meanwhile, she had lost her husband and was bringing up her two sons on her own. He had settled down in Calcutta and was visiting the village to see his sister and her family. The next few days were full of rejoicing. The brother asked after the education of the two boys. He was told by his sister that Fatik was lazy, disobedient. and wild. But Makan was as good as gold, as quiet as a lamb, and very fond of reading. Bhishma offered to take Fatik with him and educate him with his own children in Calcutta. The mother readily agreed. When his uncle asked Fatik if he would like to go to Calcutta with him, his joys knew no bounds. It was a relief to his mother. She had been afraid that one day Fatik would get Makan into serious danger. But at the same time, she was a little upset to see Fatik's eagerness to get away. Fatik, as soon as all was settled, kept asking his uncle every minute when they were to start. He donated to Makan his fishing rod, his big kite, and his marbles. Indeed, at this time of departure, he was very generous to Makan. So they were very happy. They spent a few days together. While they were spending very happily, Bhishmar asked how was the boys doing at school. His sister told him that Fatik was wayward and lazy, while Makan was a diligent student. He is very good behaved, very good student. But she got problem about our Fatik. So Bhishmar offered to take Fatik with him and educate him with his son. Fatik was excited to go with his uncle. He was so happy that he gifted his priceless possession to Makan. Though his mother was relieved, she was sad to see his eagerness to leave home. When they reached Calcutta, Fatik met his aunt for the first time. She was by no means pleased with this addition to her family. She found her own three boys quite enough to manage without taking anyone else. There is no worse nuisance than a boy at the age of 14. It is impossible to shower affection on him as on a little boy, and he is always getting in the way. If he talk with a childish lips, he is called a baby, and if he answered in a grown up way, he is called disrespectful. He grows out of his clothes too quickly. His voice grows hoarse and break and quivers. It is easy to forgive the fault of early childhood, but it is hard to tolerate even unavoidable mistake in a boy of 14. Yet, it is at this very age when a young lad most carves for love and affection. Though his mother was relieved, she was sad to see his eagerness to leave home. Fatik's joy did not last long. When they reached Calcutta, his aunt was not pleased with the new responsibility of bringing up a nephew together with her three sons. As a sensitive teenager, Fatik sensed that he was unwelcomed. He tried hard to win his aunt's affection but failed miserably. He missed his mother and her unconditional love for him. It was painful for Fatik to be the unwelcome guest in his aunt's house. Despised by the elderly woman and slighted on every occasion, if ever she asked him to do anything for her, he would be so overjoyed that he would overdo it, and then she would tell him not to be so stupid. So, from all this, we can see that he was an unwelcomed guest in his uncle's home. His auntie don't like him very much. She dislike him, and every time he insulted him on every occasion. But he tried to help her. Whenever he is asked to do anything, he will complete that job. He will do it neatly. Then she will tell him that don't be so stupid. So, my dear students, we are stopping our lesson here. I hope you all have understood. So, we will be looking more about this in our classroom. Thank you, students.